This is the Art of Darkness podcast with Kevin Kautzman.
And Brad Kelly. We're a couple of very online writers interested in the dark side of what drives creative people to create against all odds.
This show is about art and the people who make it, what it costs them, and what it takes to bring something unique and impactful into the world.
Each episode, we excavate the life and work of an artist you might think you know.
Don't worry, they're all safely dead.
On every episode, we try and find out just what the hell was wrong with them and how they worked through their darkness to create something that lives on after them and continues to move culture.
Find us online at artofdarkpod.com and on Twitter at artofdarkpod. All right, we've got some sponsors for the pod now.
Wait, what?
Every link you need for the things we talk about here is at artofdarkpod.com/sponsors. First up, books.
If you're into this podcast, odds are you're probably a reader. We've got links to buy new books from bookshop.org and used books from alibris.com.
And if you want to listen to your books, we recommend and use audible.com.
It's great, and the catalog is huge.
All right. So if you're listening to this, you are online.
Maybe you're very online.
You probably have a website or are thinking of starting one. Maybe you want a website like artofdarkpod.com. We built that with WordPress, which is by far the most popular way to create websites. And the single best host for serious WordPress is WP Engine. I've personally used them for over a decade now, and I don't host my websites anywhere else. Go to artofdarkpod.com/sponsors and click on the WP Engine link to learn more.
Finally, the best way to support the show is at patreon.com/artofdarkpod. Get the bonus After Dark content for every episode, access to the book club, and more.
Thanks for supporting Art of Darkness. And I don't think that was too painful. I think we did a pretty good job there.
Yeah, that sounded good.
Yeah, we appreciate it. All right, now we have a special sponsor I want to tell you about here now today. Writer-director Dan Brown has a new play taking place at the Chain Theater on West 36th Street in New York City on January 7th, 2023. The 11-Story Drop, an evening of monologues, music, dance, and redemption, is a new collection of original fiction and musical compositions featuring characters facing a crossroads in their lives. These 11 acts tap into the heart and soul of audience members and just may lead you on a new path towards self-discovery. The 11-Story Drop will leave you asking, how did I get to this place in life and where do I go from here? The 11-Story Drop features comedy, dark drama, music, and dance to create an engaging and entertaining live show experience. Tickets are affordably priced and can be purchased at 11storydrop.eventbrite.com. That's 11storydrop, EVENSTORYDROP at eventbrite.com. Writer-director Dan Brown presents the 11-Story Drop, an evening of monologues, music, dance, and redemption at the Chain Theater on January 7th. Showtime is 7 p.m. And he's got something else going, Brad.
Yeah, so Dan Brown is also offering up 2 free tickets to an Art of Darkness listener. You can, if you're going to be in New York City, if you can be in New York City and you want to check this out, it's a really cool independent theater. This is a really cool project. Strongly recommending you check this out. If you want those free tickets, you can email us, artofdarkpod@gmail.com. We'll make sure that happens. Otherwise, go to 11storydrop.eventbrite.com to get tickets or other information. That's ELEVENSTORYDROP at eventbrite.com.
Yeah, right on. This is the kind of thing we want to support. Independent theater, people getting out there and making stuff. So
at 100%, yes.
100. Yeah, email us artofdarkpod@gmail.com. And it's going to be first come, first serve. So get at it. What a year.
2022 over. 2023 has started.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kill it with fire. 2022, not 2023. 2023 is going to be our year.
It is. Everybody's saying it. The cards are right. The horoscope is right. The all the planets have aligned.
that
We don't even have a say in
Mercury.
we don't even have a say in the matter anymore. So
I read online today where I read everything because I
mhm,
don't like many influencers. I don't read books.
that's a good idea.
Uh, yeah, I try to stay away from the book learning. But I did read someone posted that Mercury is now forever in retrograde. And
Perma
so,
retrograde.
yeah, permanently in retrograde. I am, of course, joking. Mercury is not permanently in retrograde. This is our season 2, 2022 recap. We are going to enjoy ourselves and go
Mhm.
back over what we did this year, maybe where we got some things wrong. I saw on YouTube someone made the comment. Did we say that WC made the Rite of Spring during the Pamela Coleman Smith episode?
Oh,
Maybe
I
we
don't
did.
know. It's possible
I
we did.
don't remember.
No, that
But if
was the
that
year
happened,
before anyway. That wasn't season
oh,
two.
was it?
That was
Okay,
season
well,
one. So
we got to make corrections on the pod.
yeah,
It's of course
yeah,
it's Stravinsky, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Which
Potato,
it's possible
potato.
we misspoke. That's I
Yeah,
know that off the top of my head. So it was a brain
right.
fart if I did.
Yeah, or I did. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
But somebody made that comment on the YouTubes where we are now with video. Some of the old, well, the majority of the episodes still are not with us on video, but
Yeah.
you can get at the archive, le catalogue on the YouTubes now. We
Mhm.
encourage people to do so. We got a
Subscribe, subscribe,
banger.
subscribe.
That's it.
Yeah,
Hit that like button.
yeah.
Smash that.
Smash that.
Smash. Hmm. And we've got Patreon going strong. It's now $5 to get in the door. We work hard to make it worth it. We've
Mhm.
got After Dark every episode. We're going to go an extra 20 or 30 minutes for this one where we really let loose.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
let the trunks air out. It's
Yes.
like your poolside with us. It's an indoor pool. It's at a YMCA. That's
Yeah.
who we are.
Yeah.
But you're there hanging
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. There's a hot tub, kind of gross, but yeah, and yet,
Yeah. After Dark is like a little extra chlorine in the
yeah.
public hot tub that we. And in any
Yeah.
case, that got weird. But
Keep your flip flops on. Flip flops
right.
on.
Right. Patreon.com/Out of Dark Pod. And of course, we have the book club coming. Bookends. We call it a book club. We call it a readers club. It's going to be great. We are going to read, I believe, 8 books. The website now has details about this. It's at artofdarkpod.com/book-club. That's
Mhm.
again, artofdarkpod.com/book-club. There's also a link if you go to the homepage. And we're going to do a Zoom session for Patreon subscribers. We for each of the books that we're going to read. The list is there. We've waxed on about this. We're very excited, and the format and the concept is all explained at that URL I gave. We're going to have some guests come on throughout the year, including the great Aaron Gwynn, Dan Baltic, Abby Lucas, who joined us for Bolaño, is going to come on for Borges, which is great. We're going to read Ficciones that month, which it turns out has a very strong Bolaño connection.
Mhm.
Bolaño said something like, if this is the only book I could read again for the rest of my life, it would be this one. So we're going to really have a good time on the book club. And please join us. And of course, lists of books
Yes.
are making the rounds. A list of books. Say what you will about internet celebrities and personalities like Mr. Lex Friedman. The man has made a list of books the main character for the week.
It's a good point.
Days.
Yeah. I mean, everybody, there's a lot more conversation about book lists. What should go on a book list? What's a lame book list? What's a good, all these things.
Whether a book list should even exist.
Yeah. Our friend Aaron Gwynn has said, half ironically, at least, under no circumstances are you to post a list of books on the internet. Of course, we have posted a list of books on the internet just today, which are our book club reads for the year. So we're just we'll just take it. If people think it's lame, they're wrong. So it's as simple as that.
Yeah, and our book club books are symmetrically stacked like the beginning of Ghostbusters. So just to be
Yes.
clear, in my mind, they're like that. I'm just going to read the list real quick because we want to, hopefully people are on board at this point, and we want you to get ready if you're going to join us for Joseph Conrad, who's going to kick off season 3 later this month in January. Brad, you're already deep into prep, aren't you?
Oh yeah. I'm really excited about this one. I'm always excited, but this one is like this one's going right down to my soul. So I'm very excited. We're reading Heart of Darkness as our first, and we knew we had to do that. Art of Darkness. We kind of take our name from that, so it only makes sense. Plus, it's one of the great books of all time, so why not?
100%. And I think later this year, we're going to do a watch party where we watch Apocalypse Now, which of course is inspired by Heart of Darkness. And we're going to reconfigure the watch party concept a bit. I think we're going to stream it on YouTube. So look out for that. Hang out in the Telegram if you want to chat with us with the 90 odd people who are in there. That's at t.me/Art of Dark Pod. So I'm just going to rattle this list off of books for the book club. Heart of Darkness, January 29th. Times and dates are kind of there may be some wiggle here, so just always check the Telegram, check Patreon.
We will try not to change them last minute, but we'll
for sure, barring some serious disease or illness or something.
If I have to swoop in and talk to Lex Friedman, then
right. Yeah,
put out a fire in his library, as it were.
Sure, yeah, very good. That's on January 29th, and we've moved because we're listeners. Some have called us empaths. Even when, and I think even especially when Mercury is in retrograde, Brad and I become more empathic. It's a blessing and a curse. We've moved because we have lots of UK and Euro friends, we moved the time forward a few hours. These are all scheduled for Sundays, and they're going to be at 3 p.m. U.S. Central Time, unless otherwise noted, the Lord's time zone. So that's 4 o'clock for you heathens out east, Brad.
Yeah.
Very
we'll
good.
Survive. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, you'll be all right. It's not your bedtime at least until 6.
Right.
Yeah. So here it is. Heart of Darkness, Conrad, January 29th. Nutcranker, the Great Dan Baltic, March 12th. Ficciones, Borges, April 16th. All God's Children, Aaron Gwynn, May 14th. The Complete Poems of Emily Dickinson, June 11th. House of Sleep by our own Brad Kelly. I insisted, lest you think Brad is one of these grifting internet narcissists.
I appreciate you reminding that, because I always feel a little. So I appreciate you making that point.
Yeah, of course. I said, look, we built this show. We have this lovely audience and a little tiny platform, so why not use it? And I had to knock on his door 3 times for this. He kept pushing, and I'm like, no, we're gonna read it. Then in September, we're going to read Confessions of a Mask, Mishima on the 17th. And then we're going to close out the year probably in December, sometime I think between Thanksgiving and the holidays and Christmas. We're going to read and do like some kind of a special with the great Aaron Gwynn about Blood Meridian. That's the book club for Patreon. Now, if you can't attend those sessions, you will be able to watch at least a portion of what we do during the book club Zoom. And beyond that, if you're not a Patreon supporter yet, or you're not there yet, you don't want to do that, this is still going to drive a lot of what we do. Everything except the contemporary literature on that list ties into the show. And we're really active. Brad's really active on Twitter at Art of Dark Pod, and then on Telegram too. We're just, even if you don't join Patreon and join the book club, there's still going to be content about these things hitting the internet. And we take this stuff seriously. I mean, if there's a podcast out there that I suppose has earned the right to post a list of books, because apparently you need a hall pass to do that, I guess, from the rage-filled internet, from the murderous swells of just the seas of rage and intrasexual competition and bitterness on the
Yeah.
internet. Yeah. Anyway, so I think hopefully we've earned a hall pass to do this. We want to do this year over year. It's very fun. I also really like that we're able to roll in some contemporary stuff with living
cool.
people. Yeah. And
Yeah,
so
because
please,
we talk about dead artists for a reason, but really, I mean, we're enthusiasts for the fact that these art forms are still very much alive, still going on. People are still making this stuff, making films, writing books, making theater, making music, right? All this stuff is still happening. So
yeah,
we don't want to we never want to forget that.
We talk about dead artists because they can't talk back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have,
and
you know, their legal teams are a little less interested. So
everything, all of these various arts are alive except for the novel. I have it on authority that Dan Baltic has killed the novel.
It's the last one.
Nutcracker is the last great American novel, I think. Of course, I'm joking.
Okay,
You're going to need a copy of except for the one Brad. I don't know. Of course, I'm kidding. I got to poke fun at my novelist friend here. But yes, and let's just before we proceed, and the format for this episode is going to be pretty casual. We're just going to go back over what we've done this year, starting with the first episode that we did last year. I got to get used to that. 2022, and we're just going to go down all that, and then we'll hang out on the after dark, talk a little more about what we got going on. And there was one other thing that I had top of mind just now. I can't for the life of me recall. It'll come back to me. But in any case, yes, I want to remember. Yeah. And we don't always do this on main. So I want to put this out there that we really genuinely appreciate all of the support we get for the podcast, whether it's a kind comment, direct Patreon support, donations. We've got a PayPal link on the website. It's at artofdarkpod.com/support. However you want to support the pod, we truly appreciate it. Brad and I are, as we say, very online, and the positive comments overwhelmingly drown the negative ones, which of course we hope and pray it will remain that way. But anytime you start to put yourself out there on the internet the way that we are, it open up the gates of hell. And
a little bit. You crack them open.
It's nice to see the angels sort of there. It weighs out the darkness, the swamp that is the internet. And
we have, and not that I've had contact with everybody who listens to this show, but the contact I have had with people who you can tell have listened to episodes at least semi regularly. You guys are all great. Happy New Year to you guys. Truly. Hope your holiday season's good. Hope everything's good for you, because I truly enjoy the contact and the engagement and talking to you guys and stuff. So
100%. Yeah. And I really enjoy the Telegram. There's always something. I wake up in the morning and there's new messages, and I check out what people are talking about. It's a real fun, cool feed. It was fun to do the Eyes Wide Shut watch party, to get the comments in the chat as that was happening. It was a real joy. And who knows, we may start to stream more frequently on YouTube. Let's see how the watch party goes. And maybe as we're recording, we start to do a little more of that and invite kind of the open discussion as we go. I don't know about core episodes per se, because we got to stay super focused for those. And I don't want to change the format too much, but we'll discuss it and sort of see how we feel.
Yeah. There's always going to be small evolutions as we go through this thing and figure out, little things, little advantages, little improvements. So
yeah, we're always trying to improve. I also have a very special announcement right now, which I'm prepared to make. This is another date that I'm going to drop and again, everything is to be confirmed. Don't book your flights in your Airbnbs quite yet. Don't rush to your couch surfing app just quite yet. I think our fans are probably, well, you can couch surf, you can do whatever you want. Airbnb, yeah right. Teach for America, whatever it takes. But we are looking at, and we do have a date confirmed for the very first Art of Darkness Live. And this is going to take place. Brad, are you with me? Are you going to say, this is where you say, wait, what? Where? No, we're going to do this Monday, June 5th, 2023, in St. Paul, Minnesota, which is convenient for me. Maybe not so much for Brad, but he's going to be in town anyway for a family affair at Waldman Brewery in beautiful downtown St. Paul, very close to downtown. We're going to have the room that Badmouth Theater Company, my theater company, has been using for various readings and parties and events. It's this fantastic room in this old brewery, which, if you're a Euro bro, isn't that old for you, but I think the building was made in like the 1860s, which for Minnesota is quite old. Maybe it's like an old German farmhouse, and they've really kept it up and converted it into a brewery, and they've got, Wurst and Spätzle and all sorts of great food.
I'm not going to be able to pronounce any of this.
You're going to be fine. You can eat it. You just have your mouth so full that you're, having a full mouth improves German pronunciation among the Amerikaner. But that's going to be, again, Monday, June 5th in the Buffalo Room at Waldman Brewery, starting at 6:00. And I can rattle off the format for this, because here's what we're going to do. And also, this will be online, right? So if you can't make it to St. Paul, or if the idea of visiting Minnesota in June to you is not appealing, although June is very, very lovely in Minnesota. And also MSP, the airport, one of the finest airports in North America, full stop. True. It is delightful. The format is going to be this. Brad and I think, are going to share duties on F. Scott Fitzgerald, part 1. We're not going to get you in a room and do a 5-hour episode. Yeah, we're going to do 75 to 90 minutes about Fitz, bringing you up to the point where he writes, or roughly around the point where he writes, a fantastic short story, Winter Dreams. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back during this live show, and Badmouth Theater Company is going to present like a theatrical reading of this short story, Winter Dreams, for people who stick around. And then we are going to do a Q&A with Brad and myself about the pod, a little bit about Fitz. And then at some point, we're going to have to finish the Fitzgerald episode.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll think about that. Let's cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah. We'll worry about that later. But this is going to be free. This is going to be donations accepted. Go to Patreon, support us that way. Go to PayPal, support us that way. Whatever works for you. So it's free. The only caveat is it's like a 2-drink minimum. You got to spend some money if you go to Walden. But trust me, you're going to want to do that anyway. That place is dynamite. Outstanding food, great brews, if that's your thing. I personally cannot wait. When we first started this show, and we kicked it off by mispronouncing the middle name, and I'm not trying to, Burroughs. Did you ever think? Did you think we'd be like talking about a lie? I didn't.
I don't know. I mean, you start out with the best. You start out ambitious, so you think it could happen, but now it's like, man, we definitely have to do it.
I think we can do it.
Going to be right, and
100%. And and who knows where it leads to down the line. But Badmouth already has a little audience in town. We have our little audience. Hopefully, if somebody wants to come in from out of town, we'll be glad to see anybody there. It's a pretty small room, so space is going to be limited. Just watch artofdarkpod.com, and I think we might even do an early seating, early ticketing thing for patreon.com/artofdarkpod. Right. So if you want to get in early, you want to make sure you're able to get into this very singular event, get on it. This is a lot of pitching, but hey, we just worked our haunches off for a year. We grinded.
We did absolutely. Yeah.
And what
good
what
job,
was
by the way.
Good job, Brad. What was the first episode that we did?
The first episode that we did in season 2 in 2022, January 9th, was on Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz with my lovely wife, Jolie Vitale. Fun episode, a little different because we never really covered 2 people before, but as we went through it, it made perfect sense that you kind of had to do these 2 people together. You maybe could have done a Lucy show, or you could have done a Desi show, but I think doing it together made more sense. And that was just a lot of fun. It was cool to work with my wife, who, by the way, designed the Art of Darkness logo. And yeah, that was a great one. I really enjoyed it.
I did too. I was down in Miami. I was tethered on my phone because I was in a weird Airbnb type situation. I remember it got freezing cold in Miami at one point. And I also made the horrible mistake of ordering some takeout burgers and onion rings in Miami. Don't do that. I think Miami's like a seafood taco type zone. But we made it happen, and I was really happy to do that. You two really took us on a ride. We're not going to do a lot of couples, but I could see us possibly doing another couple.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, there might
once
be
in a while we'll mix it
yeah.
up when it makes sense. You're not going to force
those two certainly did. I felt like that did make sense because they were like that. Well, maybe we need like Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard. We do them. I'm just kidding. No, both those guys need separate ones, and we need to be way leveled up before we do Hubbard.
Yeah, we have to have a legal team.
We have to have. Well, Dan Baltic is the show's lawyer. He doesn't know this yet, but he's the official.
Okay, good deal.
He's the lawyer of. He's like, just insert all of the Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas gifs you can find.
Right.
This man is my lawyer. How dare you speak to me this way on the Bird website? All right, so we'll trade off. So I'll take the next one. So the next thing we did was we did a Darkroom episode. And for those new to the show, little primer, the core of the show are core episodes where we cover an historical subject, occasionally two at once, and we give biographical profiles. The Darkroom episodes are episodes where we circle back to a subject and have on a guest who is passionate about that subject. Still has a nice format, a little more conversational, less about like going through the entire bio, more about drilling more deeply into a given subject. And the subject we drilled into on this one was Franz Kafka with Hegelian. I remember this one. Yes, people love to talk about Franz.
They do. Yeah. And actually, there's been a number of times where we've had some conversations with people about having them come on and do dark rooms. And they're like, how about Kafka? It's very often like the first one somebody rattles off. So it was cool. It was cool to bring Hegelian out. He's a smart guy. Also, this is actually when we really started hitting the dark rooms. This isn't in our first dark room, but they had been few and far between before this. And at this point where we really started like, we can actually we can make a couple, 2, 3, 4 of these a month, and they'll still be fresh and interesting. So
totally. Yeah, the dark rooms are a little lighter lift, right? We've really got to work and order books and watch a lot of media and write an outline. The dark rooms, we go a little more off the cuff, though increasingly I am prepping stuff for the dark room. One thing we want to avoid with Art of Darkness is Art of Darkness will never become a vibecast. It's never going to become a bant cast. There's room for vibe casting. There's room for bant casting. We love our bants, but we're really about the material and the subjects we cover. Although we do have some through lines. Did we ever put the bingo card on our website? Did I don't know if we did. We'll see as we go through.
At Pee Wee Melville, from our good friend from Twitter, came up with a AOD bingo card, and it was spot on. Yeah,
loved it. That made our day. And that's another way you can help the pod. If you're short on cash, you don't have $5 a month. This is where I say, maybe I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't be listening to 6 hour long podcasts about Aleister
Make a
Crowley.
meme.
Yeah, right. But you could always meme the pod. We are meme respecters. So who did we do next? Brad?
Next we had on a guy who's become a close collaborator, Adam Lehrer of Safety Propaganda and System of Systems podcast, and we talked about William S. Burroughs and a bit about Anna Kavan, which was cool. It was a good perspective for us to have. At that time, Adam had recently released his book Communions, which is a great novel. Each chapter is a sort of a reimagined moment in the life of a great artist who was addicted to opiates, and sort of a perfect fit for these two subjects. So that was really cool. I felt like I learned a lot in that episode about the nature of drug addiction and the creative process. Adam looks at it in a way that I don't have the experience or the imagination to have thought of myself. So that was a really cool experience.
Yeah, we get a lot from all of our guests. It feels like Adam covers in a range of artistic territory where you and I are Philistines. So it's nice to have him on. I love finding these. I hate the word synergy. It's been perverted, but I like to find these areas where we can fill gaps for one another. It's very, very exciting. So very good guest. Yeah, big fan. Then we did we did the episode where Brad raps on the After Dark for Patreon. We did,
and we just had an outpouring of Patreon subscribers.
Unreal. Staggering. Yes. It was like they were just throwing money into Patreon. It was nuts.
Yeah.
Brad is the only rapper from Detroit who's ever done a shadow battle. Yeah. He's like shadow boxing. He was rapping against himself.
Yeah.
I think we decided your id won, didn't we?
I think we did.
Yeah, right. Well, but so Doom was an example, or I think the first example of us obeying our rule, where we wait a year and a day before somebody dies to do an episode, because we aren't ambulance chasing and we're not trying to pile on. Tragic, the tragedy of death. It's not really what we're about. We'll notice it. I mean, there have been some really, really big deaths recently, but we're not going to rush to put an episode out after somebody's passed. Partly for our process, because you want the dust to settle, but really out of it's our little gesture of respect. But you did an MF Doom sound archaeology, and that was quite fun.
That was fun. That was a great episode. That was a little left turn, a little bit from our typical subjects. And also when I had to dig deeper and into more interesting places to get some of that material. You know, a lot of these subjects, there's just a big, thick biography out there. And you pull together other stuff, but you got that as your primary reference, right? This is just like little interviews here and a podcast there, and it's kind of all over the place. So that was an interesting exercise for me too, just as from a process standpoint.
It's probably the only episode we've done where a legitimate part of the research was to watch Adult Swim.
Right. Yeah, just watching Adult Swim with my glasses on, going, yes. So after that, we did a dark room with two guests who'd been on for other reasons before. This was Aldous Asterian and Aaron Gwynn. Came on to talk a little bit more about James Joyce, and we got I think that was a great conversation. I actually listened back to that one fairly recently. I just scrolled by it and was like, oh yeah, that was a cool episode, let me check that out. And got Aaron Gwynn tells some cool stories about his relationship, particularly to the book Finnegan's Wake. So I really enjoyed that conversation, and it was cool to have those two guys on who don't, I don't know that they knew each other very well before. And yeah, it was fun. That one ended up being kind of a hang too. So I like
100%. In the interest of time, because we've done an awful lot this year, I'm going page by page. I'm gonna take the next three. If you want to jump in and tag them, go for it.
Okay.
The next core episode we did was H.P. Lovecraft, Architect of the Weird, with Ben Thomas. Now this one, for a very online podcast, was something that people wanted. Would you say that, Brad? People were ready for Lovecraft.
Yeah, and it very rapidly became, for a while anyway, like the number one episode. And since then it's not quite, but still up there. But yeah, that one, there did seem to be a clamor for that. So I was glad that we were able to do that. I was glad Ben Thomas was able to come on for it, because he's a sort of a Lovecraft encyclopedia. So that was cool. We went deep on that one.
Why do you think Lovecraft is such a figure? Why do you think he is?
I mean, he really did invent an American, not single-handedly. Almost nobody does anything single-handedly ever, right? But largely himself invented an American subgenre of literature, right?
Mhm.
Invented
Right.
weird fiction, for lack of a better, and it's something that is pervasive, and it shows up everywhere now. It shows, as we talk about in the episode a bit, shows up in the movie the Alien franchise. It shows up in True Detective, and those aren't even like direct. Those doesn't even count for the stuff that's directly from the Lovecraft mythos, right? This is subtler influences that are out in everything. So
This
he's
is this
actually
is
he's actually a major American writer, and people don't realize it.
right, and certain corners of the internet rediscover him over and over. You've got for political reasons, certain groups find him fascinating. You've always got like the Warhammer nerds who, the gamer people who are it's a whole world. And one thing I realized recently is that because I watched Ghostbusters Afterlife, I'm a Ghostbusters stan, big fan of the original film, and I watched Afterlife, which I really liked, by the way. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is a Lovecraft world.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously. It's
Mm-hmm.
so obviously Lovecraftian. And it's just like it's so in your face, you don't even think about it. But what brilliance for them to take like a Lovecraftian story and make it into this absolute popcorn movie.
Right. No, it's brilliant.
Just
Yeah.
brilliant. Well, so much for going quickly through these, but okay. So then we did a dark room with the great Carl Rollison on Faulkner, and Carl is a legitimate biographer. We are not biographers. The same way that Dan Carlin says he's not an historian, we're not biographers. We're not historians. This is not an act of making history, writing history as we do this. We're not creating biography. What we're doing is profiling.
Yeah.
And
we're standing largely on the shoulders of guys like men and women like Carl Rollison, really. Yeah.
Yes. And we do endeavor, and I think without fail, we call out the books and the sources that we use. By and large, particularly the books, we're very good about that. And this show without these biographies would be like Mystery Science Theater without the movie.
Right.
And so
right.
That would be terrible. That would be very rather Beckettian, wouldn't it? Just staring at a blank screen for 9 minutes. No, that's not what we're doing. Then we did, and then I'll let you pick it up and do three, Brad. Then we did Night of the 18 Drinks at Hotel Chelsea with friend of the show, Michael Backinson, who is a repeat offender on Art of Darkness. And this was a fun one because this was an example of us doing something a little unusual. This is not our usual format. We decided that the Chelsea Hotel, the Hotel Chelsea, has enough zhuzh as this epicenter of artistic creation that we would do an episode about a piece of architecture. And I'm glad we did. That was a fun one.
Yeah, that was cool. I learned a lot, and it was fun to be able to kind of thread these things together and get at, what is the soul of a place like that. Very cool stuff. Following that, we did a dark room on Anna Kavan with John Arterberry, who's a journalist guy who's very involved in writing and thinking and studying, researching what's going on in places like Russia and Syria, and also just via the podcast became a Anna Kavan stan and wanted to come on and talk about particularly an out of print book that he'd gone to the Library of Congress and read. So that was pretty interesting conversation to have not only I'm such an Anna Kavan fan, I love that somebody else got into her. And then it was cool to just talk about somebody who is not only that enthusiastic about Kavan, but also like that newly enthusiastic. There's that difference when you just discovered something that you're like charged up with. So that was a cool conversation.
Yeah, and very cool that the pod kind of made that happen, midwife that. We really appreciate when that happens. And then the next episode, I was out in LA partying, and I'm pretty sure it showed up on the episode.
This is the John Berryman's Traveling Life. The poet Jason Gallagher came on and helped us out with that. And you were having a slightly John Berryman moment, perhaps. I don't know what you were having a good old time, and we were having a good old time doing the episode. John Berryman, this is one of those stories when we set out to do this episode, I knew basically nothing about John Berryman. I knew the name, I knew kind of what he looked like. And then you go through it and you're like, oh, this is actually, if you're gonna understand American literature, history of American literature, even the history of Europe, literature in the English language in the 20th century. This is a guy that you kind of need to know what his influences are, who he influenced, where his ramblings took him, his life and his work. So I'm really proud of that episode, sort of for that reason. I feel like that's a volume on the shelf for posterity in a way. Maybe just because it was so illuminating to me, and it's like I missed this guy somehow.
Absolutely crazy to me too, because I'm a Minnesota guy. I went to the University of Minnesota. He taught there, and I walked across the bridge that he eventually ended his life jumping from 1,000 times, and I didn't know. And that's on me, of course, but that's one of the joys of this pod is the learning. Like it's as corny as it sounds, we are nerds. Like I want to, and it's not just a learning facts on this pod. We try to add and there's an emotional shade to what we do on this pod. That where we're trying to figure some things out. And if you join us, or if you've been on the ride so far, I think we do an okay job of painting around the lines a little bit, or like painting in the lines so you can fill things in. We don't edit. I don't think we editorialize too much. We try to leave it up to people, yet we are wondering people. We will ask the questions. And Berryman was fascinating. And Jason Gallagher is going to come back on again.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I believe he's coming on. Who we talking? I don't remember after that.
Bukowski?
It is Bukowski. That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
the
going to be a
much coveted Bukowski episode that multiple people have wanted to come on.
That's true.
And we will do dark rooms for sure. And I'll probably I will not be in a Bukowski state of mind for the John Berryman episode. I will be well rested and ready to go.
Excellent. Excellent. And then after that, you guys did the Abby Lucas came on, and we talked about Roberto Bolaño. Another guy I didn't know. I'd read his work, but I didn't know anything about his life. So that was fascinating. Felt like I really kind of leveled up my knowledge of what's going on, because everybody writing now is influenced by Bolaño for sure. So that was really cool.
Yeah, and a very popular episode. Abby is a very good friend of mine and my screenwriting partner. We've written a number of feature-length screenplays, and we're even adapting my stage play Moderation into a screenplay right now. So if you're sitting on money and you want to fund a screenplay from a niche podcaster in the arts books category, artofdarkpod@gmail.com. We'll make a movie. I gotta get that in, Brad. Come on, you never know.
Yeah,
we're manifesting. Okay, and I'll take a few. Because Mercury's in retrograde. It's good. We actually dropped some merch at this point. So we have a bonfire. If you go to the website, you can order T-shirts. I made a T-shirt that is black and it just says "Another Dead Artist," which I think is quite fun because that's really what our show is all about. And then you could get the logo if you wanna rep AOD at the bookstore. If you want to let people know you're hip and you're with the cool kids, I would highly recommend that. We even have a Never Do Heroin tote bag, which will make a statement.
Definitely. But hey, it's not like somebody's going to disagree with you, right? So
right. What do you mean? What do you mean? All right. I'll take one more. Then you do three. So, and then up next after that, we did a dark room with the great Caridad Svitch on Sarah Kane. And Caridad, and we could have maybe dug a little further into this. But I also, it felt right. But she met Sarah Kane at one point and told us a few stories about that meeting. I don't want to pry too much. You don't want to be kind of, give us all the dirt and what was it like and what was she like? I mean, come on, it's a little corny. But Caridad gave us some really valuable insights into Kane and really
Kane's whole milieu, right? Like that whole scene. It was cool to learn about for sure, especially somebody like me who doesn't know much about the theater, especially the recent theatrical history. So that was pretty cool. After that, we did a dark room, went back to the Chelsea Hotel, this time literally, as we had a dark room episode talking to Gerald DeCock, a man who still lives at the Chelsea Hotel. quite a Renaissance man himself. He's a gentleman who's been in New York City for a number of years, done it all, seen it all. It was pretty cool. He lives basically in an object art that he is kind of patched. I don't want to patch together, makes it sound like he threw it together. It's very deliberate. This beautiful apartment in the Chelsea Hotel that he lives in, telling us, cool stories, what's going on at the hotel now, how it's changed since he's been there, all of that. It was very, very neat.
It really was. And he was so enthusiastic and kind. I really appreciated that. And what a get, too. And that happened through our friend Michael Backinson.
Again, Michael Backinson was on that episode as well. So yeah, that was really cool. And then we did, I believe this was the first time we did this. We did our first watch party of 2001: A Space Odyssey with the great Dexter De La Paz, who's we'll talk about again here in a little bit. Yeah, just fun. Good pick for a movie. Lots to talk about. Not a lot of dialogue in the film, so you never feel like you're talking over it or anything. And it was just a cool little format that I think we have figured out how to do. And that was our first foray.
Listen to the podcast, Dave. That was fun. Big Kubrick fans. Yeah.
I'll do one more too. Hougoullian came back in May to talk about Storyteller of the Strange, Robert Aickman. This is another guy I didn't know much about before going into it. Just a kind of a neat story, sort of like could have been, or maybe was in some ways, the H.P. Lovecraft of England. And was involved in a bunch of other things and conserving the waterways and different political movements and things like that. Just a very interesting guy, a peculiar character, and a fun episode to do.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, that was great. I mean, when was that? What month was that?
That was back in May.
Holy moly.
May
We're not even into
2022.
Woo!
Yeah.
This truly is an effort pod. We do the work. The next episode we had a dark room with James Ellis, which was a fabulous get. We talked about Gurdjieff, and our next dark room is going to be about Gurdjieff, who is such an interesting figure because once you mention Gurdjieff and somebody makes that connection, you immediately have a million things to talk about.
Yeah.
So just a real joy. And he's the Hermetics podcast.
Yep.
And so that was fabulous. A lot of fun and just an erudite, like a scholar and a gentleman, I would say.
Really was. I really like James Ellis. He's a great guy. Everybody we've met doing the show, I've been pleased to meet, but that he felt like I love that experience.
Yeah, a lot of kindred souls. And speaking of kindred souls, we had up next Astral, the internet personality, who is so enthusiastic about art and creativity and making things. And he's always got some new theory, some new thing happening. He's so enthusiastic. It was so fun to have him come on and talk about Bolaño. Really, I think unexpected. People were like, Bolaño, Astral. But Astral is so passionate about Bolaño. That was an episode that flew by. And we've been on his pod. We're going to go on his pod again soon and talk about Fight Club. That is going to be a lot of fun. I cannot wait. Up after that, we did, you did Hieronymus Bosch. Now, that episode was another kind of I talk a lot about, this episode was a breakthrough, but I really mean this. This episode was a breakthrough in the sense that you discovered kind of a new format for the show, like a way to work around a figure whose biographical detail we don't have that much of. So you really did a bang up job with this one, presenting us the different theories about Bosch and leveraging the work. Now, it strikes me that this could be a very interesting way to eventually handle Shakespeare, who is controversial. You have the Oxfordians and what is it? The Stratfordians.
Yeah.
You've got the other side. So that could be a very interesting episode. In fact, it occurs to me, and this isn't a production meeting, but off the top of my head, what if we did a Shakespeare episode from the Stratford perspective and a
Right.
Shakespeare episode from the Oxford perspective. That would
That
be
would be
fascinating.
interesting. Back to back, sort of back to back. Yeah.
And we could each prep one of them. And
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
sometimes lightning strikes.
Yeah. That's
And
cool.
that is
that would be really
that is
cool.
a must. I mean, Shakespeare is well, of course. I mean, my God, we're that's going to have to be in 2024.
Yeah.
But that's a good idea. So put a pin in that. That'll come eventually. And then I'll do
Yeah.
one more real quick here, Brad. And
Sure.
then I did, or that we did. We had Godward, the great Godward, friend of the show, come on, and we talked Kafka. More Kafka. Can't get enough Kafka.
That's right. This time we tried to focus on thinking about, well, how can we keep doing these shows about the same people? It turns out we can. We focused primarily on one short story that had not even been discussed in all of our previous Kafka material. Short story that's near and dear to my heart, A Report to the Academy. Godward had some very, very good insights on it. I love that conversation.
Brilliant.
Following that, we did another watch party. This time we watched Jaws with the great Jacob Everett, also known as Blauergeist, the man behind the indomitable sleaze rag, Apocalypse Confidential. I always feel bad saying it, but that's what he calls it. So we came on and talked about Jaws, and that was a ton of fun. And I know, Kevin, I love that movie, but I don't love it nearly as much as you do. So I know you had a great time doing that.
You can't mention Jaws without me kind of going, I could watch Jaws tonight. I could go watch Jaws tonight. Nobody's stopping me. I'm the adult now.
Right. After that, we came back and we talked. Adam Lehrer returned, Safety Propaganda and System of Systems podcast came back, and you guys did a great show, banger show on Artaud.
Yeah, and that was the first time that we featured a reading from my theater company, Badmouth Theater Company. It's badmouthtc.com. We did a reading of his short play, Spurt of Blood, and jammed that into the middle of the episode, which was a lot of fun. Adam Lehrer was even in that. So that was another case of we could do these things together. Like we're going to do our live show in June. The theater company is going to come along. So a lot of fun for me to be able to marry my love of theater and radio theater to our show is just a real treat. And hopefully people enjoy it.
Yeah. Am I still going or are you going?
You take one more. This one you did. So you take
this.
Well,
okay, that's fair. So after that we did and these episodes were practically back to back. They were like the same weekend or something, I think. Aldous Asterian from the Great Force of Symbols podcast returned, and we talked about Philip K. Dick, PKD. Went deep, long, fast, covered a lot of ground. I love that episode. It strikes me that these two episodes, doing them back to back, two episodes, which remains a couple of our most popular episodes. This really, for us, was a moment where things got pretty exciting. They would all already been exciting, but I feel like I'm still riding the inertia of that weekend to some degree, or the momentum of that weekend.
Yeah, dynamite. And that was a moment where, whoa, okay, and of course you do this great novelist and author. I do this great playwright and theater thinker. We have great guests come on who are just jacked to talk about this. People are hyped for the episode. Yeah, it had it all, man. And lest we forget, the great Peniel Collada did the show art. She does the short, the majority of the show art, all the core episodes. That's her. And she did a very unusual piece for the PKD episode. It doesn't look like any of the others, and just admire what she does. PKD is another like very online, but also like very normie too. You don't even realize how many movies the dude influenced and his stories have been drawn from. It's just one of those moments where you go, wow, big air. Yeah,
for sure.
I'll do a few here. Then we had Rap Game Edward Bernays, the internet personality, who come on.
I just smile every time I say that name or write that name. That late
Yeah,
game at
yeah.
that name
Perfect.
cracks me up.
Just
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah. The ideal handle.
Mhm.
And he came on and he talked Philip K. Dick. Then we had the great evil thespians come
Mhm.
on to talk Artaud.
Mhm.
Another example of the podcast party circuit. We love
Mhm.
our podcast friends. People who make podcasts are really, it's DIY. People are
Mhm.
getting down to making radio, staying connected in this benighted age,
Mhm.
sharing information, sharing things they love and that they're passionate about, making genuine friends. I feel like
Mhm.
I could have fast friends or people I kind of half know now
Mhm.
halfway around the world through this pod, and
Yeah, it's
it's a
cool.
great thing. I mean, I'm not going to be asking to sleep on your couch, but
Yeah. If I'm in your
but you
town,
know,
if I'm in your town, I might shoot you a DM and see what's up. Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
who knows where the show takes us? Maybe we end up, going on tour eventually one day. It's a dream. And then we had Ben Thomas come on and talk Frank Herbert and Dune, which
Mhm.
was a very, very strong subject. And people, again, I think we're going to be doing dark rooms about Frank Herbert for a long time.
Yeah, we're gonna
When
have
the
more. We got more Dune content coming this year for sure.
All right.
Yeah.
It was around that time that we broke into the podcast charts, which was very cool to see
Mhm.
internationally in the books category. And
Mhm.
I'll do one more here, Brad.
Sure.
This one you picked up and just ran with. Uh, uh, Ernst Junger's stereoscopic vision. And this is one that people were asking for.
Mhm.
They want Mishima, they want Bukowski,
Mhm.
they wanted Ernst Junger, and you
Yeah.
delivered.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm proud of that episode. It's another one I didn't know much about his personal life before. I knew kind of World War One, those I didn't know much. And so that research was fascinating. And so I'm pretty proud of how that one came together. Felt like we really got to the core sort of philosophy, the philosophy at the core of Junger's work. And yeah, I love that episode. I'm glad that people dug it.
And such a surprising subject. I learned
Mhm.
so much. I'd only barely read Storm of Steel, and I need to read
Mhm.
more. So just
Mhm.
exciting. I can't wait for Mishima. Although I have seen the great film or the very
Yeah.
interesting film. So fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know we're going to learn a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Following that, we did a Dark Room episode with the great Bernard T. Joy coming out and talking about Faulkner. I can talk about Faulkner, mostly listen to people who know more about Faulkner than I do. I could do that forever. And Bernard T. Joy is a real mensch, real intruder in the dust that I didn't really quite know. This concept of the Black Atlantic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Really, really interesting conversation.
Cool. Yeah, a
Um,
lot of fun. And it's around this time that we took a little sabbatical, and
oh
I
yeah,
think people didn't know if we were going to be coming back. I like to say this is when we touched grass.
we did touch grass.
And
Yeah.
I think we came back stronger and ready to rock
Hmm.
because this next batch takes us home. Now we're in
Yeah.
October. I don't know if we're going to, next year is fully booked.
Yeah.
So if we take a break at one point next year, it'll be when one of us says, I'm pushing this core episode, and we'll have like a
Right.
little 2 week window.
Yeah. We'll
That's
move time
always on the
around.
table.
Yeah.
We always endeavor to deliver, just so you get an inside scoop into the schedule here. We always endeavor to do 2 core episodes a month, one that
Yeah.
Brad does, one that I do. And the way that works, of course, is that gives us each at least, depending on the way the schedule is formulated, 3 to 4 weeks to prepare,
Hmm.
because this is an effort pod.
Yeah.
And I don't know, when you're thinking about the Patreon and do I have $5 for these knuckleheads? Like,
Yeah.
think about what we put in for those episodes. Never mind the guests we book. Never mind the dark room. Never mind the book club. If
Mhm.
if this pod, if you've listened to 20 episodes and you don't think this pod is worth $5 a month just for those core episodes, then I feel like we're doing something wrong. So hopefully you
Right.
feel like those are worth it.
Yeah.
And those episodes always get the most listens, and we know that.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
people want. We
Right.
understand it. That's what we're here to do. So when you're looking in your heart, whether to click on that Patreon button and go support the pod, just know that we're committing to 24 of these next year.
They're booked.
They are in the schedule. When we have guests, they are booked. And we're going to throw in all of the other stuff, the dark room, the book club, all of it. But in any case, I just got to say that because that is the heart of the show. Now, and in the future, depending on where the numbers go, that number could possibly go up too. Like if we get more and more support, maybe it becomes 3 a month or 4 a month.
Right.
And because we're able to devote more time to it. But for now, 2 a month is what we got. And and we love you if you support the pod, even any which way, and just listening, it means a lot. Anyway, okay,
absolutely.
Go on.
Yeah,
all right.
Next
so now we're in
episode,
October.
Yeah, we came back. We did Terrence McKenna with we had the great Peniel Colada, who does the episode art for the core episodes, came on and helped us out. Talking about Terrence McKenna, just the life of a psychedelic maven, major influencer on sort of the new age and drug culture and all of those things. Yeah, and I really, this is true of basically all of the core episodes. There is no one place to go to get more consolidated, focused biographical information about Terrence McKenna. You can hear a lot about Terrence McKenna talking, and if you want to hear his ideas, there's great stuff out there, and we shared some of it. But if you want to just know who the man was, I think this is the best piece of content on the internet.
That's the place to start. And of course, Peniel did a great piece of show art with the
she did
meditating psychedelic symmetrical McKenna. Very good. I think Terrence would approve.
Let me do one more because next one is Francis Bacon. The great Jacob Everett Blauergeist came back for the third time and graced us with his presence, talking about the great English artist Francis Bacon.
Yeah, that was one that I had a lot of fun preparing. I probably read the most in preparation for Bacon, although previously I'd probably read more Crowley. And like Hemingway, I have read exhaustively, who we're going to do this coming season. So very good. Yeah, Bacon was a lot of fun. Okay, I'll pick a few up, and we're bringing it into the home stretch here. It's October now. In the 2022, we're going back over these. Right now it's January 2023, so we're putting the nail in the coffin of the rotten, the foul year of our Lord 2022. We did another dark room. Adam Dreesy came on and talked McKenna, and Dreesy is so fascinating because he wrote a how many page book on
600 or 800 pages.
His theory of mushrooms and the genesis of civilization.
That's a lot of evidence. Yeah, Eden and Entheogens. You can read it for free on his Twitter, Aeon Animus. I didn't read all of it. I read a lot of it and I browsed a lot of it. It's compelling. I don't know enough about this world to offer any counter arguments, but I will say it's compelling. So check that out, and it's free, totally free.
Love it. And say it one more time. It's Eden and Entheogens.
Eden and Entheogens. I believe it's the psychedelic history from the Bronze Age to the present day. Something
very cool. Very cool. And then after that, we did John Kennedy Toole with friend of the show, New Right podcaster, novelist, the man who finished the novel. He ended the American comic novel with Nutcracker. Our nut buddy, Dan Baltic, came on. So if you can't tell, I'm a big fan of Nutcracker. Brad and I both blurbed the book. I am going to be writing a review of Nutcracker soon. I believe you are too, Brad.
I am.
Yeah. So
that'll be cool. Look for that. We are, and we're covering Nutcracker in the book club. So, John Kennedy Toole's perfect subject to talk about with Dan Baltic. He's in the John Kennedy Toole lineage. Maybe nobody else is. Right. And so that was a cool episode to do for sure.
Yes, very good. And that novel is for the very online, for the terminally online. You will loll, you will keck, you will cry. Maybe not in that order. Up next, and I'll do a couple here. Up next, we did a dark room. Phil Ford from the great podcast Weird Studies came on. a real academic came on and
Mhm.
talked MF Doom. Brad did not rap on this one.
No.
Nevertheless, this one was sprawling. This one went places. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, Phil Ford is just such an interesting guy. He has such a range of intellectual topics where he's competent, and he has no fear about wandering from one to the next. And so
Mhm.
trying to keep up with him was one thing, and yeah, that episode, I've been a Weird Studies fan for longer than we've been doing this show, and so to get him on was a special treat for me personally, and I think people enjoyed that episode as well.
And it's been a while since I did one of these, but I got a Mr.
That's
Crowley.
on the bingo. I believe that is on the bingo card.
Yes, we
Yeah.
did. My son is freaking out. He's like, "What is my dad?" He wants to sing along. We
Daddy.
did an absolute epic with the
Yeah.
great Stephanie Leahy. A little after Halloween, we were trying to
Mhm.
make Halloween, but the outline sprawled to over 50 pages on the B666, the Master Therian, Aleister Crowley. And that is a full, if you're on Patreon, that's a full 7 hours of content. The core episode alone is over 6 hours or
Mhm.
almost 6 hours.
Yeah, I think it's just shy.
Uh,
Yep.
just a hell of a ride. And I
Yeah, you
will
guys
I
did the
will
dang thing.
say I will say the same thing about McKenna, that
Mhm.
this is probably the best single piece of content that gives you Crowley's biography
Mhm.
in one place online. There may be, because Crowley is so heavily covered, there may
Right.
be something else that's in parts or a podcast that's like wholly devoted. But if there is, I haven't heard it and I haven't found it. For me, this is something that I'm very proud of. And a lot of people, we don't know. If you're not a Crowley person, we had people pop up after this and say, "Didn't Godward say that's the first episode of yours that I've listened to where I had to shut it off because I was afraid for my own soul?"
That was good marketing, and we should have given him
Yeah,
a 5 spot for that. Yeah.
simply covering a subject on Art of Darkness is not an endorsement
Right.
on
Right.
any which side or way. And
No.
so Crowley's an example, though, of someone who has influenced the world you're living in right now.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. We're an art history podcast in a lot of ways, right? And so you don't just talk about the people that you like, right?
No,
Yeah, right. You would be missing, we'd be missing stuff if you did that. So this is one of those
100%.
figures. Yeah, there's stuff we maybe do like about him, stuff we don't, certainly stuff
Yeah,
I know that I don't like about him, but it
right.
was an important episode to do for sure.
Well, and sometimes we come away from the pod liking our subjects less than we thought we would.
Pretty
It's
frequent.
not,
Yeah.
yeah, and you learn, but that's human life. That's
Yeah.
the messiness of human nature. That's the messiness of the monomania that it often takes to bring art into this otherwise lifeless,
Mhm.
soulless, dead-eyed corporate hellscape.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. When what we're saying about this actually takes us right into our next episode, because the next episode we did shortly after the Giant Geo came on of Content Minded Podcast and many other projects came on and talked about Anais Nin, who's my respect for her work in researching this episode went from not really knowing her that well to about a 9 out of 10. And then my respect for her as a human being almost fell through the floor at the same time. So that was a very I don't know what to do with all this information kind of episode.
I
Yeah.
felt that way about Brando.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
oh
and
my
those
God,
are
they were a genius, and also please, I'm so glad I was never in the same room as them.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Why don't you take us through this page, and then I'll take us through the first
Okay.
page on the
Yeah. No.
website. And
Yep. That makes sense. Yeah. So Godward returned. We talked. We had what I thought was a pretty illuminating and kind of intimate conversation about Philip K. Dick. Philip K. Dick had a profound impact on Godward, and he's always so articulate about complicated ideas that I think that conversation was a lot of fun. So go back and check that out. And then one of my personal sort of the nerd part of my brain loved this next episode. We had Tommy P. Cowan A scholar of esotericism specializing in William S. Burroughs came on, did a dark room with us, talking specifically about sort of the magical lineage of Burroughs cosmology and religion and magical practices. I think that was pretty illuminating. I think we talked about some things that I've never really seen anybody talk about on the internet as it pertains to Burroughs specifically. So that was a really cool conversation to do. What else do we got on here? The next big thing on this page that I'm looking at is another watch party. We the great Peachy Keenan, her book is coming out very soon, I think.
Yeah,
maybe sometime this month. She came out and we talked about Big Lebowski. She's a Big Lebowski what would you say, devotee, enthusiast, aficionado, connoisseur, and watched, one of my favorite movies. I know it's one of your favorite movies. It's certainly one of her favorite movies, and just about everybody likes Big Lebowski. So that was a lot of fun.
It really was. And that's a watch party. And we do those occasionally to indulge ourselves. We watch a movie, but then we try to go deeper. Lebowski was a bit of a reach because it doesn't really directly tie into.
Yeah, usually
one
we've
of our
got
subjects.
something that we can kind of tie it to. That time we didn't, but it was.
But that's all right. We got a platform. We like doing these, and we're going to start streaming those on YouTube so people can watch along and comment, which is fun. And before we move to the last and final set of these, I did go on New Right, Dan Baltic, Matt Pegas, and I went over and announced our season 3 lineup on New Right. So if you want to hear that, we're not going to go much further into it here. Go listen to New Right, support the podcast party circuit and our nut buddies over there. All right, so let me blast through the end of the year here because it's a lot. Then I did late in November, I did Timmy Leary, who was insane and way more 3-letter agency adjacent than I expected. Yes. Way more of a grifter than I expected. Also, escaped prison and went on the run abroad. Just a crazy story. A lot of fun. Another one of these figures where Crowley influenced him. He influenced an entire generation of people. Not an endorsement if you think hallucinogenics are literally how demons get into people, one of the ways. We're not saying that we full send endorse Leary, although we are hallucinogenic respecters on the pod. We're not going to pretend to be otherwise. We can politely disagree, but there's a lot of stuff about Leary that I'm like, whoa, this guy was his wife kills herself and then he starts into the big long nasty trip. Right. Or the beautiful and nasty trip. I also really didn't expect Neil Cassidy to be so interesting. That was great. Well, anyway, we'll leave it at that. That was a lot of fun.
That was a good episode.
Then you did the great Emile Chiron with Caleb Caudell. Epic. Caleb is a novelist. The novelist of The Neighbor. And Emile Chiron, what a vision of an artist. Just this Romanian lunatic in an attic in Paris writing the heaviest metal lyrics that you could ever imagine about the nature of despair and insomnia. And then he finds a bicycle and it saves his life. And there were so many unexpected twists and turns in that story, and it got to the end of it and it was like, we at some point this show had to do a Chiron episode. So I'm really glad that we did that. That is an example of someone who I knew nothing about. I couldn't have even pronounced the name prior. So that's another thing about us. We do not pose as experts, and we will never BS you on this pod. Brad and I are not. We're not like the other influencers.
That's right.
But there's a lot of this, everybody has to wear the mantle of expertise all the time. And when we don't know, we don't know. And that's baked into the format of the show. I cover somebody. So that's just
I would say about 1 out of 3 core episodes that I'm at the helm of, when I started the research, I knew very little about them. Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
You think I thought I knew Crowley. I did not know Crowley because I hadn't read that one great biography, which I think maybe came out recently. In any case, all right, moving on. Then you
Well,
did. No,
yeah.
I'm gonna go. Then you did Norm Macdonald with the great Blake Hammond, who is the house comedian of Art of Darkness. And Norm was a very popular episode, though he's been
It
doing
is.
numbers.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
just a joy. Another example of us waiting over a year. We were originally going to do it a year and a day after his passing, but sort of life conspired to have us push it a little further back. But we got to Norm, just a real joy, and learned a lot from that. Did you want to say something about Norm?
No, just yeah, that was one. I always have fun doing the research, but that one was the most me watching YouTube videos of any episode we've done so far. So I felt almost indulgent at a certain point. It was like, honey, hold on, I got to watch an hour of Norm videos. Just like,
I'm doing research.
Right. So yeah, that was a fun episode. And we jumped from that to doing we had the great Michael Nathanson of the Playing Dead podcast and many roles. If you've seen him in something, he's in The Punisher and The Nick and a number of other things. And came on to talk about Stanley Kubrick and The Shining specifically.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right. I'm ready to bring us home if you're ready for it.
Yeah, go for it, man.
We're almost done. After that, we did a dark room with my brother Kellen, where we talked about Leary, but specifically about Ram Dass. In a funny way, it's almost like a teaser episode for the future Ram Dass episode we will do. When I asked Kellen to come on, I mentioned Leary, and he immediately brought up Ram Dass, had a lot to say about Ram Dass. People really resonated with this episode. Kellen brings a lot of love and a lot of passion. And I had forgotten that he'd become a Hare Krishna. My brother is as eccentric as the both of us. And I just love him to pieces. And that was a lot of fun to have him on. Then we released a Badmouth Theater Company recording of the Artaud radio play To Have Done with the Judgment of God. So if you want to get a little theater in your ears, you want to get a taste of what we do with the theater, check that out. That came out in December. Then I had my sister come on, the great Chelsea Smith, the wig maven. She's got a great business running. She said, hey, let's do an episode. Or I said to her, hey, you want to come on and do an episode? You'll be in town for the holidays. She said, sure. I said, who do you want to do? She said, Gilda Radner. Okay. And so we just happened to do two major SNL figures in pretty short order between her and Norm.
Yeah, that was just sort of coincidental, sort of the magic of the show in some ways. That was fun too, man. I didn't know really anything about Gilda Radner except some real basic information. So that was cool. I felt like I got an education.
Yeah, it was really a fun one. I mean, I sometimes think, I think, maybe planning next season, not season 3, but season 4. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, of course, but maybe we do a grab bag thing. Maybe we ask the community in the Telegram or Patreon, maybe.
Yeah.
We'd have to think about a way to make it fair, but I do like that kind of wild card concept where, because I got a lot out of Gilda Radner because she's not a subject that I would have immediately glommed onto.
Right.
It was a real joy. And now, in a case of Art of Darkness totally driving mud discourse on Twitter, we just did a Darkroom episode on Eyes Wide Shut. We had a watch party again with Dexter De La Paz, and we watched Eyes Wide Shut. And there have been some big threads going around on a L Bird website, Reno, about Eyes Wide Shut. Eyes Wide Shut is a Christmas movie, and certain hot takes about Eyes Wide Shut that are. This is a movie that I think people are continually rediscovering. It's a great example of a thing being there and changing depending on when you watch it, depending on the political environment. It's a real masterpiece. And that was season 2, 2022 of Art of Darkness.
Yeah.
Woo!
Banger. Good job, man.
Woo!
I mean, good job on this and good job on all that.
Well, thanks for walking through it with me, Brad. That was a lot of fun. And then thanks for being such a fine partner in this endeavor. We, at this point, we've got something going. We know there's an audience. We're not getting rich. We're barely paying for the bills. We're getting our books paid for. We want to take it to another level. Every bit helps. I know we ask for support a lot, but we also put in a lot of work, a lot of effort. It's not even about the work per se. It's about, I think, the quality and what we're trying to make. And the more support we get, the bigger guests we can get. This is something you mentioned. People are very generous with their time, but let's be realistic about how the internet works and how podcasts work. People make a judgment on you based on your Patreon numbers, based on your Twitter followers, based on all sorts of things. They make a judgment. Is this show worth going on? Well, if you want this show to grow with bigger guests, more experts. That said, people are very generous with their time. So I'm not trying to.
Amazing. Yeah.
It's incredible. And totally thank you to all the guests. I think we did a good job. We rattled down everybody who gave 90 minutes up to 7 hours or 8 hours, and not including the prep time that Stephanie Leahy did.
Yeah.
Just a joy to be a part of this thing. And get in the Telegram, t.me/artofdarkpod. Get in the Patreon, patreon.com/artofdarkpod, and tell people about the show. If you got a relative or a friend who you know is into comedy, send them the Norm episode.
Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah.
I think now we've got a catalog. There is a core episode for literally everyone at this point.
Yeah. If you got somebody who is really into drugs, send them McKenna or Leary.
Yeah, exactly. It's all there. So yeah, man.
If you got somebody who's really into send them Aleister Crowley.
Really into stuff you'd rather not mention.
Did you hear me? I beeped myself.
Good job. You're a pro. You're a real pro.
Yeah. Well, you have any final words before we wrap?
No, that's it. No, go check out the season 3 trailer. Got some hints about what's coming. So
that's it. Artofdarkpod.com. We're going to be back in a few minutes for the Patreon subscribers on the After Dark. Awesome. Thank you for a great year. Welcome 2023. It's going to be a banger.